Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Marengo Family Foundation, and these friends. Oh, Crystal Apple, 2020. Are you going to be bright? Are you going to be dull? Or are you going to be shiny? So today I've assembled this group of bankers who provide financing for real estate, commercial businesses, commerce and industry to provide their insight on the state of the market in 2020. My guest, Louis Rosado, who is the market manager for commercial real estate for the New York region, for Capital One Bank. Jacob Weinstein, who is the Senior Vice President, Group Manager, New York and New Jersey for People's United Bank. Jordan Casella, who's the Senior Vice President for New York and New Jersey Bank of America. And last but not least, Eugene Kennedy, who happens to be Market Executive for Customers Bank. So, Mr. Rosado, how do you see 2020? How was 2019?
Good. Good, strong year. Multifamily, we had a strong run lending to the debt funds. So at the end of the year, it was a good year. Competitive, pricing-wise, but definitely a good year.
Where do you see the opportunities for 2020?
For us, multifamily is definitely on the top of the list. It's one of our big bets.
You know, if I were to put together some multifamily owners with you, they would say to me that multifamily is not a good market because, you know, the regulations came into effect on June 14th and had a big effect on the stabilized units.
That's true. There's still some properties at the right leverage that need financing. And for us, we don't do a lot of 1 to 4 family financing. So for us, doing multifamily gets us CRA credits. So it's a big push for us.
JJ, how do you see the market?
2020 we think will be a great year. 2019 was a record originations year for People's on the commercial real estate side. We're still growing our platform. We had half of our new loans we made this year on the commercial real estate were with new clients. So we don't see any fundamentals changing drastically. We think there's going to be a lot of business to be done in 2020.
Jordan?
Look, I think the entire bank market has had a great 2019 across the board. I see that continuing in 2020. Banks are going to be very active. Rates are low. Clients have a ton of dry powder to put to work, so we'll see transactions happen. But that being said, when when I say we're being very active, it's not like loan books are growing at 20, 30%. The duration of our loan book or anyone's loan book in the bank is tends to be 3 to 5 years. So just to run in place, you're doing a lot of activity and a fair amount of volume.
On this side, I have three people who are dedicated to the real estate market. Over here, I have Gene, who's more involved with the commerce and industry market, and on the periphery, the real estate market. How do you see the market?
I think it's still strong. I mean, most of our clients are, if not having record years this year, having very strong results that will lead to additional opportunities for us in 2020. So, 2019 was a little bit of a rotation for us in terms of de-emphasizing multifamily, a little more focus on healthcare related, a little more focus on some of the debt funds, construction, which was a newer vertical for us. So I think it'll be continued growth in those areas that we sort of planted the seeds over the last 18 months to really, turn into a regional or national business.
A lot of activity has taken place on the far west side, the Hudson Yards. Bank of America has been very active in the market. How do you see the growth of the Hudson Yards and the area around it besides the Hudson Yards project? Jordan?
I see that area continuing to grow as more people move in. The office infrastructure has been constructed and it continues to go up. A lot of these really large towers are now more or less leased to a large component. So I think there'll be more activity, maybe along the lines of more multifamily, some retail, and the questions around whether infrastructure can sustain it. We'll find out. But obviously, tenants want to be there. They're signing large leases and they're moving large employee bases over to that market.
Lou, how do you see the far west side?
So we've seen the residential that he's talking about, the residential construction. There's still some more to come. We're going to look at opportunities there when they come.
Right. I think you were involved with Jeff Levine a number of years ago on one of the first properties.
On the initial stages.
Right, on the initial stages of the home.
Right. So we'd seen that once they put in the offices, like was said, you bring the employment, you'll have the people.
One area, and I'd like anyone to chime in on this, we've been seeing a lot of transit-oriented developments, especially in Westchester, some of it in New Jersey, and some in Long Island right now, in Patchogue and Lyndhurst and other neighborhoods. How is the banks looking at the transit-oriented developments? Jordan?
I think that it makes sense. Obviously, the cost to go rent for a millennial versus living in Manhattan or Brooklyn makes a lot of sense to go to Westchester. The concern from the bank market and probably from the investors as well is just, a ton of supply coming to, two markets specifically. And I'm sure will get absorbed. It's a question of at what price point, how long are you offering concessions, and but I think long term, it's a good play and a good place to be.
JJ, you live in the suburbs, okay? You live in New Jersey, not far from the city, but you're a tough commute, okay? It's not, you don't have the trains. So how do you see the Gold Coast, the Englewood, and that other market?
Yeah, we like transit-oriented development in the suburbs. We think it has a reason to exist, not just as a value play for millennials, but also for divorcees and other folks that want to stay in the suburbs. They have reasons to be there. In fact, we're financing a project where they redesigned the building a few times for larger units, not necessarily for families, but for folks that wanted their families to come visit, to have spare bedrooms. So we see that as very much a phenomenon that we'll continue financing in 2020.
Lou, you live in Long Island, so how do you see the expansion taking place?
It's so long in the coming. I mean, some of these developments have taken so long to be built. These communities needed it. New product just didn't appear there. I live out on Long Island. It's a rarity. It takes so long to get entitled and to it's going to the ground. So there's definitely demand for it. I mean, when you have so many people renting out their homes, where there's illegal two families, people still living at home if they're going to live out on the island. So demand is definitely there.
How's the position of the banks today with regard to hospitality due to Airbnb? Your thoughts on co-living and so on? Anybody want to bring out your thoughts, the bank's position?
We haven't really taken a hard look at it. We have seen unit sizes shrink in some parts of Manhattan for sure, and I think we're starting to realize that there are people that spend most of their time outside of their living space and will tolerate or be happy with a smaller unit size.
Right. I'm not talking about the smaller unit size. I'm really talking about the co-living, the common concept, or the WeWork concept, which didn't work. We live over there. Where you rent a bedroom, and basically you might have a bathroom, and you're within a community over there. Has the bank been involved with that bank?
We have not. I mean, that I'm aware of. Really, and obviously it's a very big platform, and but certainly I do think it makes sense in certain cities where there's enough densification. Rents are sky high, but I don't see that being a huge theme in the multifamily market long term. But there's probably a niche for it to a certain extent. And on the hospitality front, we generally are more conservative as banks on the hospitality front. If you want to put full leverage on it, you can go to CMBS, you can go to a debt fund, and tend to like limited service hospitality more, where there's less volatility in the cash flows coming from F&B and meeting space. If you can get an aggregate and pool of properties with diversification in markets, that's generally an area we like to play in.
Gene, you live in Brooklyn. There's been a lot happening in Brooklyn. How do you see the market with regard to the C&I market and with regard to the real estate market in Brooklyn?
It's still strong in both, in both counts. I mean, some issues with supply and just how much has been built in a very small area of downtown Brooklyn on the real estate side. But, we're seeing clients with smaller projects, 20 unit, 30 units, in some of the other parts of Brooklyn, South Brooklyn, and having a lot of success with those projects because there's a lot of demand for them. On the C&I side, it continues to evolve. There's still a lot of newer companies in Brooklyn. So for us, it tends to be more an opportunity on the cash management deposit services side versus the lending or ABL side. But it's robust. I mean, still a lot of people want to live and work in Brooklyn.
I know that the Bank of America has made a commitment to parts of Brooklyn for John Catsimatidis' property in Coney Island. How do you see the outskirts of the further reaches like Coney Island?
We've been involved in some large projects in the area, but I think affordable housing is a need across the metro area. You can go out to Coney Island in certain areas of the city and develop at a cheaper cost than right here in Manhattan. So I think as it ties to the multifamily theme that Lou said earlier, whether it's transit oriented, whether it's in secondary areas of New York City, that trend will continue as the need for housing and affordability is real and will be there.
E-commerce is a big business today. So there's a twofold question on this. So how's the bank's interest in industrial and the new industrial projects being done? Any interest, Lou?
I guess to think about who are really the owners of that industrial. Is it the REITs? Is it the families? Who's really concentrating in it? I cover mostly local sponsors, so a lot of them they're not in that arena. So our REIT area, they're definitely looking at doing deals, industrial deals, in this market here in New York.
JJ, New Jersey has lots of warehouse and industrial property. How are you looking at the industrial market, especially right now with the e-commerce effect?
So I'm with Lou. You know, we sort of follow sponsors that are strong and have a background in the industrial space. You know, what I keep hearing anecdotally and at conferences is, you know, you can fill up your industrial, your logistics space in New Jersey easily, and you know, land's being sold for $200 a foot, and there's just a lot of momentum, obviously. But for us, it still is, and will remain about sponsor first.
What about retail? I mean, studies have been done that New York City is under-retailed. Depends on the location over there. I mean, Brooklyn is under-retailed, Queens is under-retailed, even Staten Island, which people don't talk about much. But how do you see, as a bank, the exposure or the interest of getting involved with retail? Jordan?
I'd echo JJ's sentiment. We're sponsor driven. We're going to follow our clients, you know, wherever they go. We do deals all across the country, but we are being very cautious with retail. But as you said, not all retail is bad. And you walk up 3rd Avenue and you see a lot of empty storefronts. You know, the bank, or large banks in general, are, you know, financing larger scale projects, not, you know, a retail condominium, you know, here or there. And there's some strong power centers, there's some strong malls. It's really, you know, spending the time looking at the asset in the market, and you can pick up some relative yield in the retail for the right deal relative to the multifamily deal you're doing. So it's good to have a little bit of yield and other product in your loan book.
You know, people have said, due to the SALT, under the tax laws with the limitations on interest and taxes, coupled with the fact that New York City may have too many condominiums, how is the interest on, if it's a sponsor, somebody you know, with regard to doing a condominium loan today?
Tougher. Condo loans are definitely tougher right now. Definitely in the luxury area, it's tougher. I think the foreign money that was coming in buying units has slowed down, and we're just seeing sales at a lot slower pace. So it's until some of that inventory that's out there is absorbed, I think we're not going to get back on to do any for a little while.
Yeah, again, you know, for the right sponsor, we would look at it. We just, to be candid, haven't been asked to look at a lot of condo financing. There's too much to do on the multifamily rental construction side, especially in those transit-oriented areas. We've been very busy with that.
We've been generally risk-off since 2016 in the condo space. You know, we have done some deals in certain pockets. You know, we're not financing deals where the projections are north of, you know, $4,000, $5,000 a square foot. These generally are neighborhood type of deals where families want to move into. But that being said, you know, we've seen the debt funds fill the void in the marketplace. There's plenty of capital for inventory loans, condo construction, but from the banks, I think in generally point of view, I mean, the supply story is very concerning at this juncture.
For a kid who grew up in Boston, one of the big businesses up in the Boston area is life sciences. And life sciences is making a big entry into the city of New York. They recently broke ground in Long Island City for a life science center, GFP and Kent Properties. There's a new life science up in Westchester coming out that was just approved with the IDA. How do the banks sitting over here look at the life science market?
I mean, I think, you know, our Boston group for sure has a handle on the activity in Cambridge and how to underwrite the high upfront cost. In New York, we haven't, just because you said it's sort of a
brand new
concept.
It's a new topic, okay?
We haven't touched it.
I mean, with the exception
honest,
of the Alexandria site, which was built a number of years ago on city-owned land, there hasn't been any life sciences. But with Cornell Technion over here, and with what's going on with all these changes, the Geno Center, the Proton Center, all of this, it's a market that I think can be a market that banks could look at.
In the right markets, absolutely.
Right.
You know, I mean, obviously San Francisco, you put up there, Boston. I think we'll see more here in New York. But I think, you know, it's becoming more of a understood asset class amongst banks. And I think the investors are, you know, looking to put equity to work in that space as you see continued growth. So I do think it'll be more of a product, but it does come at a high price point. So certainly it helps when there's a tenant that's ready to go into a new ground-up development.
Deep-pocketed sponsors for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about affordable housing. New York City and the region needs affordable housing. I was just reading yesterday that in Lindenhurst and Farmingdale, you know, they're doing some lotteries for affordable housing, which they have in New York. What's the bank's position today with affordable housing? I know Capital One has a pretty good
separate affordable
group.
housing group. Yeah, we're still active in it, very active in it. Nothing scaring us away from continuing.
I think it's a safe area. Its limitations. JJ?
In the New York area, we tend not to need as many of the CRA credits as some of the banks that have a bigger retail presence in the city. So we're not as aggressive sometimes as other lenders on affordable housing. But for certainty of cash flow, there isn't much better than that.
You know, Gene was talking about the bank has made in more of an involvement, customers specifically, with regard to healthcare. Healthcare is such a large market today. It's a huge market in the Bronx and in Westchester today in New Jersey. What type of effort are you doing?
Our biggest push has been with some of the skilled nursing type facilities, which is something for us at our size. We're able to scale a little bit larger, do some larger deals with, you know, the size of our team. And that market continues to be very, very active, very attractive for us. So I see that being strong again in 2020.
Jordan?
I think we're starting to see, you see more and more of it coming online in the marketplace. It's a challenging product to some extent to finance construction-wise, due to, you know, how long is it going to ramp up? You don't know the demand until it's built. You know, for the right client, deep pockets. You know, certainly it's something we look at on a very select basis, but it's not a very big part of the book.
You know, with the aging baby boomer, one of the markets which is growing in New York City specifically, Manhattan specifically, is the assisted living. Right now we have a brand new location on 56th Street and Lexington Avenue, 92nd Street and 2nd Avenue, and then there's the property which was the former Esplanade on the west side, on West End Avenue. I mean, you see it also in New Jersey quite a bit. There are a number of them.
For sure. In fact, there's one in my town that was just put up with great transportation access. Doesn't have much grounds, which kind of surprised me, but I think you're starting to see people want to age in a place where there's a lot going on. They don't want to sit at home doing nothing.
They want to be nearby, and they also want to have the accessibility of good healthcare institutions nearby in case they get sick.
Life doesn't stop just because you move into a facility like that. It continues being vibrant. So I think it makes all the sense in the world if the economics work.
Lou, you see that in Long Island quite a few also.
Quite a few. There's a number of developers coming to the island, putting it all the way out, you know, past as far out as Riverhead. So it's definitely, you know, they're selling the homes. They want to live nearby. They want to continue to be near their families.
So when we're trying to look at new products and everybody's out there trying to get business, where do you see, I mean, a couple of years ago it was the EB5s. Now there was a discussion about the opportunity zones. Where do you see new opportunities next year? Gene?
We've seen, you know, a handful of EB5 related projects, opportunity zones. You know, we were pursuing opportunity zones from sort of a deposit gathering angle more than necessarily project-driven construction side. So, I think, I don't know if the opportunity zone sort of hype has kind of lived up to what folks expected this year, but I think I know there are a certain number of folks who are trying to get their deal done by the end of the year, but there's still a lot of folks out there.
There'll be opportunities next year in the opportunities.
There's still people out there
You'll
raising a
lose
lot of
some
money
effect,
for
but
it.
it's still out there.
Yep.
One topic that I haven't discussed is the co-working phenomena. Everyone saw what happened with the WeWork situation, also the difficulties with certain of the other companies in the business, the smaller ones. I'm not talking about convene or industrious who are running management type of agreements. When you're offered a office building to finance, how is the bank looking at it with regard to financing it if it has a co-working component? Lou?
Some limitations. Limitations on the amount of space, limitations on what the cash flow will carry for debt service if you would exclude that space, where you would, lower your debt coverage ratio, but obviously you're lowering it on a lower income. And even some restrictions on adding additional co-working space to the building.
Anyone else?
I think that's consistent in general, how the market's viewing it. I think, the bigger question is, what's going to be the impact on valuations down the road. Certainly, cash flows are driving that, but are investors going to pay a discount because of that co-working exposure?
JJ?
Yeah, I echo what Lou said. I mean, just like any office building, we love diversity of rent roll, unless you have a long-term, investment grade rated credit tenant.
Right.
So, co-working is fine and as a component of your rent roll.
So I think in summation, my apple's shiny now, and it looks like it's going to be shiny in 2020. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Mr. Lou, JJ,
Thank you.
Jordan, Eugene, and I'll see you next week.